Hello students, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss some more concepts from evolution. Today's concepts are biological evolution or theories of evolution. The theory of evolution is simply a statement of species transformation over time with no mechanism proposed. A variety of mechanisms behind evolution have been suggested and each constitutes a theory of evolution. Modern evolutionary theory, on other hand, is a complex of those specific theories which have yet to be falsified by testing and contribute something to our understanding of the process behind evolution. Lamarckism, the first scientific theory and most perfect pre-Darwinian concept of organic evolution by the French naturalist Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck in his book Philosophy Zoology in the year 1809. His idea of evolution was based on the observation that the changes in the environment lead to changed patterns in the species. Lamarck proposed a theory called theory of acquired characters, and this theory was based on two assumptions. The two assumptions in the Lamarck theory, that is theory of acquired characters. Number one, the use and disuse of the parts. The parts are the organs of the body which are used more and more become elongated or increase in size, while the parts that are not used get weakened, become smaller and gradually disappear. And the second assumption, the inheritance of acquired characteristics. The characteristics acquired during lifetime of an individual or transmitted to the next generation. Lamarck believed that new species evolve after many generations by acquiring new characters or losing the old one. The examples for these assumptions. Example 1. According to Lamarckism, the modern day giraffe evolved from the short necked and the short legged forms that existed in the past. The giraffe had to stretch its neck and forelegs in order to reach the higher levels of trees. The longer necks and longer legs produced in each generation were passed on to the next generation. Over a long period of time, after several successive generations, the present day giraffe with long necks and long forelegs were evolved. The present day forms are a result of continuous effort to reach the leaves of progressively tall trees. So this example indicates that so earlier the giraffes are having shorter legs and short necks, but due to scarcity of this grass on the land, the giraffe starts to get a food or maybe leaves from the trees by stretching their necks. So this process is continuous. The stretching the neck, as a result, the neck size is increased. That character is successively transferred to next generations. And now the present day forms are a result of that continuous effort to reach the leaves of progressively tall trees by increasing their forelimbs as well as the neck, long necks. So we can see that pattern of their increasing their forelimbs as well as neck size in this photograph. The other examples, example 2, the webbed feet of duck and frogs as a result of their use in swimming. And another example, the birds like heron developed long legs as a result of a stretching to keep their bodies out of the water. And fourth example, the ancestors of snakes were believed to have legs and short bodies. The snakes stretched their bodies as they crawled through thick vegetation, and this led to the evolution of an elongated body and a legless form after many generations. Lamarck's theory of inheritance was tested by several biologists. Though the theory of use and disuse of body parts in producing the changes in the animals was accepted, but transmission of these acquired characteristics to the offspring was not accepted. So theory of use and disuse, that is accepted, but the transferring of that changed character, acquired character to the offsprings was not accepted. So why they are not accepted? The example is given here. An athlete can develop longer and stronger muscles with use, but this trait, nothing but character, is not transmitted to his children. So I think it is clear. The athlete can develop longer and stronger muscles with use. That means by doing exercise, the athlete can develop the stronger muscles, a body, a fit body, or maybe a gym body. But this character is not transmitted to his children. That means the theory of disuse and use of body parts. So by regular doing exercise is gives that stronger muscles, that is accepted. But the as it is that same stronger muscles are not accepted, that transferring that strong muscles to the next generation or to their offspring is not accepted. Further, this is the example. Or you can also think that nowadays we are observing a different types of haircuts. So if a person is undergone or maybe is regularly doing some haircuts, a different style of haircut is maintaining, and after that he married and he got a child, but the same type of haircut the child does not get. So this is the example for that, the not accepting that concepts of some parts of these concepts does not accept. So Darlington, a scientist, commented Lamarck's theory is an evergreen superstition. Here it is. August Weismann tested the Lamarck's theory by cutting off the tails of mice generation after generation. This is one more test done by August Weismann on mice of that theory of use and disuse, or a theory of inheritance of character. Now, according to the Lamarckism, the subsequent generation should have had shorter tails, but the offsprings of the tailless mice had the tails of the same length. So what he did, he tested that Lamarck's theory, use and disuse theory, or maybe the theory of acquired inheritance. So by cutting off the tails of mice for several generation after generation. So in first, when he took a mice, he cut the tail and he observed the next generation. So as per Lamarck, you need to identify that shorter tails or maybe a tailless mice. But here in that generation, he observed that the mice had the tails of the same length. There is no reduction in the length of the tail. August Weismann continued his experiments for 20 generations and found the mice with the tails of the same length as in the first generation. There is no change in the length of the tail. This experiment did not prove the inheritance of acquired characters. So here the Lamarck's propositions and its criticism. The first proposition: the living organisms or their organs continuously increase in size, and the criticism for this proposition: in many groups the size of organisms is reduced during evolution. In many of the animals when they are observed, so suppose if you are consider that reptiles, dinosaurs are the early evoluted in Jurassic era, not park, Jurassic era. So, but later the many of the reptiles they are not giants. They are getting smaller bodies than compared to the past. Next, second proposition explained that new organs result from a new need and environment. A criticism for this statement: desire or need cannot give rise to new organs. Can we develop wings by wishing to fly like birds? It is clear that. So, what he said in second proposition, the new organs result from a new need and environment. And what is a criticism? It cannot rise the new organs. Need cannot give rise to new organs. For that, can we develop wings by wishing to fly like birds? Suppose I need wings. That need cannot develop the new organs. Third proposition, the impacts of use and disuse of organs. Criticism. It is disproved by several examples. So, use and disuse. The organs which are used more and more, they are transferred to the next generations, and which are not used, they are degenerate. That is the statement. But it is disproved by August Weismann on the mice. And also some examples here. The eyes of voracious reader do not increase in size with the increasing age. So those who are voracious means he is a continuous reader. He is in his 24 hours, he spend his time to read nearly 18 to 20 hours. In such voracious reader, the eyes do not increase in size with increasing the age. And second example, it is we can observe in our body regularly. The constantly beating heart does not increase in size. Rather, the heart maintains a constant size through generations. That we are already know very well. Constantly it beats 72 times per minute. So it is throughout our life. If we have life, the heart beats 72 times per minute. It will lifelong. So continuous beating does not increasing the size of heart. Imagine that, like the Lamarck explained this use and disuse theory. Lamarck is using, that means the giraffe is using their necks to stretch to gather the food from the tree. If you are applied on this, the heart is continuously beating, then what is the size now? But it is not happening. The fourth proposal explained the inheritance of acquired character. It is also disproved by an experiment conducted by the August Weismann. The inheritance of acquired character. So that means he removed the tail, and that character does not carry to the next generation. The mice is getting the same length of tail. He did not observe any mice with shorter tail or maybe tailless. So it is also disproved. Till now, we are discussed about drawbacks. That means disproves of the Lamarck theory. Now here, evidences in favor of Lamarckism. The first evidence in the favor of Lamarckism. Somatic cells can produce germ cells. So first of all, what is a somatic cell and what is a germ cell? The somatic cells are also called as vegetative cells. The cells which are present in vegetative parts like root, stem, leaves, etc. If it is an animal, the cells which are present in the body except reproductive organs are called as somatic cells or vegetative cells. Germ cells are also called as reproductive cells or sex cells. So these cells are present in reproductive organs to produce gametes. So now first assumption is that somatic cells, that means first evidence for the favor of Lamarckism is that somatic cells can produce germ cells. Example, somatic cells of plants by vegetative propagation produce new plants bearing germ cells. Now what is meant by vegetative propagation? Propagation of a new plant, that means production of a new plant by using vegetative parts like stem, roots, leaves, etc. is called vegetative propagation. So simply we can consider one example, that is hibiscus. So new plant of hibiscus we are getting through stem cutting. Suppose if you want to produce a new plant of hibiscus, simply we will cut one stem and we will propagate in soil. We will keep into the soil and it develops the roots and develop into a new plant. In that cut portion of the stem, you are taking just a stem part, that is a vegetative part of the plant. But when it develop a new individual, it can produce the flowers. Flowers are the reproductive organs, that means germ cells. And second evidence for the favor of Lamarckism, that is chemicals produced in somatic cells affect germ cells. This is also a beautiful example, that is chemicals produced in the somatic cells affect germinal cells. Consider once recollect that chemical coordination and integration. So all the chemicals that we will call as hormones produced in our body, the hormones are produced by pituitary gland, adrenal gland, gonads, or maybe uh, pancreas. So leave that gonads, testis and ovaries are reproductive organ. Leave that and remaining. That means pituitary gland, it is a vegetative part. Adrenal gland, vegetative part. Pancreas, vegetative part. Now, pituitary gland produces several hormones. That is growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, LH, luteinizing hormone, FSH, follicle stimulating hormones. So these hormones, they produced by the somatic cells like pituitary gland affect on germinal cells. How? Let's see that LH and FSH. Luteinizing hormone and FSH, these two hormones are gonadotropins. That means they act on reproductive organs. Is it clear? Neo-Lamarckism. What is meant by Neo-Lamarckism? The modified form of Lamarckism is called Neo-Lamarckism. McDougall found that time taken for training the mice was reducing gradually through generations. This agrees with Lamarck's idea that acquired learning is passed to the offsprings. We can take one more example from primitive man. Till today, if you show a burning stick, a matchstick, to the newly born infant, and that infant closes their eyes, or maybe they will afraid of it. How that infant knows that? Because the learning is integrated into our minds and it is transferred to the next generation. So that is McDougall found that time taken for training the mice was reducing gradually through generations. That means when he trained a mice in the first generation, and the same training when he given to the next generation, the time is reducing to learn by that mice. So this agrees with Lamarck's idea that acquired learning is passed to the offspring. Learning. Next, environment does influence on organism. Yes, environment influence on organism. In previous part we discussed that continent drift, alligators in America as well as China both are having that alligators. Before drifting they are moving from one place to another place. After drifting and formation of barriers, the movement are restricted, and they are got the changes according to their environment that we will discuss in the last part. So environment does influence on organism. We can see polar bear and we can see bear in our forest. So environment definitely influence on organism. Internal vital force does not play any role in evolution. So any vital essential forces present in internal body does not influence the role in the evolution. So variations which also affect germ cells are passes, or where affected somatic cells give rise to germ cells. Variations, that means nothing but changes affect the germ cells or passes. So changes which affect in germ cells, reproductive cells, can passes to the next generation, or affected in somatic cells also gives rise to the germ cells. So now we are discussed vegetative propagation. In that vegetative part or somatic part we are using, and that somatic part will give that germ cells, that is flowers giving. So in that case that variation is passed. So this is the entire Lamarckism representation in a hierarchy. So the first one, environmental change, speciation through principles of Lamarck. New needs arises. So a change in environment brings the new needs. Organism respond to the change in the environment. So now in that the response is the disuse of existing organisms. That structure is degenerate. So the organism respond to change in environment for use of existing organs. The structures are developed better to survive in the changed environment. Inheritance of that character to subsequent generations. and the origin of a new species. The next theory of evolution, that is Darwinism. Charles Darwin, an English scientist, sailed on the survey ship HMS Beagle in 1831. He studied variety of flora of plants, vegetation, and fauna, varieties of animals from different parts of globe, but found Galapagos Island most interesting. That Galapagos Island is a living laboratory of evolution. Earlier, a believer of theory of special creation, who Darwin. Earlier, Darwin is a believer of theory of special creation, but Darwin propounded natural selection as basis of evolution, and all organisms including man have arisen as modified descendants. Branching descent and natural selection are the two key concepts of Darwinian theory of evolution. Darwin was influenced by the ideas of Pierre Malthus. He wrote an essay on population. Charles Lyell, he wrote a principles of geology. Herbert Spencer, he gave idea of survival of fittest. So he influenced by these three eminent personalities: Malthus, Charles Lyell, and Herbert Spencer. About their ideas, the Darwin is influenced, and he started the discovery. A.R. Wallace, a contemporary naturalist from Dutch East Indies, had made similar studies in Malaya archipelago. It is islands near this Indonesia, and sent his paper Tendency of Organisms to Depart Indefinitely from Original Type to Darwin for comment, who had also written a similar article by that time. Hence, they published this article jointly as Origin of Species. So here in survey ship HMS Beagle, the Charles Darwin studied similarly like A.R. Wallace in the Galapagos Island. But this A.R. Wallace studied that similar type of observation or similar type of evolutionary patterns in the Malaya archipelago, that islands which are located near Indonesia. And he written a paper. That paper is sent to the Darwin, and that paper and the Darwin observations are both together. They are published in an article jointly as Origin of Species. Later, with the help of Lyell and Hooker, Darwin published his complex book, The Preservation of Races in the Struggle for Life. This book is published, and this book, along with the help of Lillian Hooker and also of the observations done by A.R. Wallace, all together, he published a book of Origin of New Species by Natural Selection, the Preservation of Races in the Struggle for Life. Concept of Species by Darwin. For a long time, species were unchangeable and immutable. Different species of organisms were supposed to have originated independently of one another. Darwin challenged both the views. That is, species were unchangeable and immutable for a long time. Different species of organisms were supposed to have been or originated independently of one another. These two views challenged by this Darwin. According to him, species are capable of change, and small changes accumulate over number of years that gradually lead to the formation of new species. The present day highly complex life has originated from the simpler unicellular life in the same way. Second, the living organisms have a common origin, and the new species originate from the old species or existing species. Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection can be summarized as given below. Number one, overproduction. All organisms produce much more offspring than that can survive. A fern plant may produce 50 million spores, and an insect like housefly may lay thousands of eggs. The elephant, considered to be a slow breeder, has a lifespan of about 100 years. Elephant matures at the age of 30 and on an average produces 6 young ones. Beginning with a pair of elephants, if all offspring survive, at the end of 750 years, there would be a 1 crore 90 lakhs elephants. So this line is clear. So elephant, if you consider the elephant, we are all very well known. The elephant gestation period is almost 637 days. So slow breeder. In such elephant, if you consider its lifespan is 100 years, and that elephant is matures at the age of 30, on average it produces 6 young ones in its lifespan, beginning with a pair of elephants. A pair of elephants, one male and female. Don't think that two males or maybe two females. A pair of elephants. In that pair, one male and female. If all offspring survive, male and female, then they can give the offspring. Whatever the offsprings they are produced, that all offsprings are survived. At the end of 750 years, that means all 6 offsprings again mature at 30 years and they can give 6 offsprings in their lifespan. So at the end of 750 years, there would be 1 crore 90 lakhs of elephants. Struggle for existence. Due to overproduction, there is a struggle for existence. The individual face intraspecific as well as interspecific competition for food, water, air, and space. So this point we can discuss. Now previously we said overproduction. So in 750 years there would be a 1 crore 90 lakhs of elephants, or maybe a housefly or and other insects can lay several eggs, all are hatches and produce the offsprings. That overproduction leads to the struggle for existence, for what they need to struggle for food, for water, for air, for space. So that a struggle between the same species, that is a intraspecific competition, and the struggle between two different species, that is interspecific. So when the number of individuals are increases, there is a competition to get a food, to get a space, to get a water. So that competition either between same species, that is intra-specific competition. That competition between different species, then it is called as interspecific. Consider that elephant itself, the competition between that elephants, intraspecific. Elephants are herbivorous depending on the plant or maybe grass. Deer depends on the grass. Deer is different species as well as elephant is different species. The competition for food between these two are considered as interspecific competition. So only a few can get these basic requirements of food, water, space, and air, and the rest fail to survive or reproduce. So only few, those who are better to collect or to gather that food as well as water and space, these those are stronger. They can survive, and remaining fail to survive. So those are fail, they cannot reproduce. Variations exist within a population. The offsprings of the same parents also differ from one another and show variations. Simply, there is a one proverb, or maybe a simply one word is there. Suppose those are some parents having two or three children. We are comparing that three children. That means the three brothers of born from the same parents are not alike like our fingers in a hand. So it is also same statement. The offsprings of the same plants also differ from one another and show variations. In addition to visible phenotypic variations, phenotypic nothing but the characters which are able to visible see, external characters we can call as phenotypic. So in addition to visible phenotypic variations, the hidden genetic variations also exist. So the external variations we can identify. In addition to these external variations, there is a hidden genetic variations. That genetic variations are hidden. They are present in the chromosomes. They are also exist. In a population, some variability is always present for almost every characteristic. The variations are very important for evolution, as some of these may help the individuals to survive in a certain type of environment while other may not. So that's why variations are important in the evolution. Survival of fittest or natural selection. The individuals with the favorable variations have a better chance of survival in the struggle. So already we discussed in the overproduction, and next concept we discuss when the overproduction is leads to the competition between the organisms for space or maybe for food and water. So the individuals with favorable variations have a better chance for survival. So in that competition, those who are having a better variations, they can have a better chance in the struggle for getting food, water and space. The organisms with unfavorable variations die out, and so only the fittest individuals survive and reproduce and transmit their favorable character, that is variation, the better character, to the next generation. This process of survival of fittest over many generations slowly increases the proportion of fit individuals due to the heritable favorable variations. So this process of survival of fittest over many generations increases the proportion of fit individuals, increases the number of the individuals which are able to fit in that struggle due to heritable, transferring that better variation to the next generations. In other words, simply we can say nature selects the individuals that are well adapted to the environment and allows them to survive. At the same time, nature rejects those that are poorly developed, and so they usually perish before reaching maturity. Hence, natural selection is a weeding out process by which only the fittest individuals are selected. Origin of new species. As the favorable variations of the fittest animals are inherited to the offspring, more and more of these accumulate in their generations. After several generations, over a long period of time, the organisms become so different from the individuals of the original species that they constitute a new species. The evolution is the change in the genetic composition of the population brought about through the interaction of variation and natural selection. The variations exist in a population due to the presence of many alternative alleles. The relative proportion of different alleles is due to the process of natural selection. Example, in a severe drought, the plants which are more efficient in maximizing the water absorption and in minimizing the water loss have a greater chance of survival than the less efficient ones. So once here know the meaning of drought. That means desert is example for the droughtness. Severe drought. Drought is nothing but which are not get a proper food or maybe water and all. The such conditions are called as drought. So desert is example. Desert shows more drought conditions, not availability of water. So in that severe drought conditions, the plants, which plants are capable for maximizing the water absorption and minimizing the water loss. Such plants have the greater chance of survival than the less efficient. And second one, the rabbits which can run faster and can escape from the predator like a fox have more chance of survival than the ones which run slow and become an easy prey. So here the rabbit which have ability to run fast to escape from their predator like a fox, and which cannot run faster, that become a food to the fox. So which is run faster, it is escape from the fox. Evolution of longer neck and forelimbs of giraffe on the basis of Darwinism. According to Darwinism, among the short-necked and short-legged giraffe ancestors were present. The giraffes of various heights also. A small population of tall giraffes with longer necks were best adapted to reach tall trees. When the foliage on lower branches became scarce, foliage means the flower leaf on that canopy of the tree, together called as foliage. When lower branches which are near to the ground surface, that branches leaves are not available, become scarce, a small population of tall giraffes with a longer necks are best adapted to gather that leaves from the tall trees. These tall individuals survived and reproduced more offspring than the shorter ones. With time over several generations, the surviving giraffes had longer necks and longer legs for limbs. The giraffes became taller and taller due to accumulation of favorable variation, and the short-legged variety completely disappeared. Hence, evolved the present-day long-necked and long-legged giraffe. So, as for Darwinism, in a population, most of the giraffes are short-necked and short-necked. Along with that, some are having a tall neck as well as a tall legs, four legs. Some, very few. So when times period, in a particular time period, or when time goes on, there is a scarce of foliage on the lower branches. The leaves and or maybe these flowers does not get from the lower branches. Then they need to gather that leaves or get that leaves from the taller trees or tall above that branches, lower branches, above the lower branches. That means on the top of that plant they need to collect. So in such conditions, this giraffe, a less number of giraffes which having the long neck and a long leg, they are capable of gathering the leaves from the top branches. then they are survived in that scarcity on the lower branches. But those who are having the shorter neck and shorter legs, they face the scarce and they are died, and these are survived in that struggle, and they reproduce more, and the taller and taller to accumulation of favorable variation. So among that population, they have a change variation. A few individuals having this variation. That variation is that long neck and long legs. That variation we can observe in a small group. That small group is survived in that case, and that character is transferred to the next generation, and evolved the present day long neck and long leg giraffe. So here it is, the photograph to represent that ancestors of giraffe of various heights. So various heights, they are all present in a population. It is short neck when compared to this one. This is a short neck and short legs. And taller giraffe is survived when this scales on the lower branches. That means foliage is lost on the lower branches. They need to gather that leaves from the top of that plants. Then the taller giraffes are survived, and that character, the taller, it is that variation is transferred to the next generations. So here it is, the overall representation of this Darwinism. Overproduction, it leads to some variations. So these variations, unfavorable variation leads to the elimination from the nature, and favorable variations, in that favorable variation, natural selection and through survival of fittest. So nature selects that suitable individual, that is based on this survival of fittest. That is the individuals which are capable to compete with intra as well as interspecific, and that character is inheritance for the favorable character. That character is inheritance transfers to the next generation, and gradually accumulation of that favorable variation, it leads to evolution of a new species, that is a species through principles of Darwin. Every theory have some drawbacks. Now, drawbacks of Darwinism. Darwinism could not explain correctly the mechanism of inheritance. That means inheritance is defined as transferring characters from one generation to another generation. That mechanism of transferring characters is not explained in the Darwinism. Darwinism failed to explain the basis of variations. So, what is the basis for the variation? We can simply say that chromosome or maybe genes, that is a later discovered, not in the period of Darwin. And the third drawback, Darwinism failed to explain the mode of transmission of the variations to the next generation. Mode in type of transmission. So these are the main, several are there, but these are the main drawbacks of this Darwinism. So in earlier in this topic, we said that the Darwin is influenced by Malthus. So now let's see the view of Thomas Malthus. So that is in an essay on population that is written by Malthus. stated that population when unchecked reproduced, unchecked, uncontrolled reproduction at a geometric rate, while production of food increases at an arithmetic rate. So, Malthus written an essay, that is an essay on population. In that he stated that uncontrolled population increases the population at a geometric rate, that is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and so on. Like that, the population growth is increases. But the production of food increases at an arithmetic rate. The ultimate result would be lack of enough food to support such a huge population, and hence individuals would face death due to starvation and malnutrition. So it is happen, that means increasing population to geometric rate and increasing the food production at an arithmetic rate, it leads to the creation of the population is increases. As per this population demand, the food does not increase, that leads to the starvation and malnutrition. It finally faces the death of the individuals. The natural disasters like famine, that means droughts or maybe floods, etc., and diseases like corona would then control the size of population. By the view of that Malthus, Darwin retained that every organism produces many individuals, whereas only a limited number survive because of lack of sufficient food material. Also, he had gathered the information on the artificial selection of animals under domestication by humans. Based on his observation in nature and experiments on domesticated animals, Darwin put forward his idea that there is a struggle for existence because of overpopulation, and natural selection acts as a powerful force for evolution of species in nature. Thank you, students. We will discuss some more concept in the next part.